At the end of last session, a you were um, you had escaped successfully from the Golden Squid. You landed on a kind of open deck, swift vessel called the Undertow that had a curious crew because it was a bunch of um, different types that were on that ship. Um, the the captain of the ship, I think his name was Captain Vax, had basically said, okay, you're released, and he was kind of happy to just, uh, get you to Dolphinia and let you just, make your way there. But also, there was a Esuroth there who was kind of interested in getting some individuals together for uh, a an opportunity that had presented itself uh, in the vicinity of a town called Bardston. And Bardston is um, not right next to Skilletan, but if you were bound for this city called Skilletan on the coast, and if you land at Skilletan and work your way inland, you would get to this large bog called the Shanton Bog, and if you continued westward from there and left the bog, you would wind up at Bardston. Okay, and I think you had tentatively agreed to entertain that opportunity that the Esuroth named whose name was Sisson was kind of interested in getting some people uh, to work with or to kind of deal with the situation. So what we can do is move ahead and put you at Bardston. I think that the idea would be that you actually, when you hit the shore of Dolphinia, it was um, it was near Skilletan, but a little bit south, and that you would kind of have worked your way through a largely through a forest up to Bardston, and a meeting is arranged in the town of Bardston with somebody named Blaine Barred or Barred. I'll write his name. Who has the title of viscount? Okay. Um, Bardston is surrounded by uh, a um, a fortified fence, and the fence or the stockade fencing is especially heavy on the bog side. They actually have a couple small towers looking out in the easterly direction towards the bog. Um, you're and inside this fenced area, the town seems to be pleasant and happy enough, but you can also tell as you're kind of walking around that people seem to be a little bit on edge. And uh, in the early evening, you are taken to after your arrival in Bardston, you are taken to a house on the edge of the town. It's kind of clear that you're taken to the house, but that Sisson doesn't really want you to be noticed, so he kind of takes you in through the back door. Um, and when you
Servant's entrance.
yes, um, and it's around dinner time, so you're kind of ushered into the this small uh, dining room, um, and at the head of the table there's a um, young, somewhat portly looking gentleman who introduces himself as Blaine, the viscount of Bardston. Um, he offers you food. There's, um, some not very good wine, but some wine that he'll offer to you as you sit down to dinner. And Sisson is there. Um, there's also a burly looking fellow named Grothmin who is there as well. He's large, um, doesn't look entirely human, and it it will kind of come out early on that he's a hobgoblin. Okay.
Uh,
Um,
I don't know how I feel about that.
um, the situation, I'll try to make it a fairly quick summary. But the situation, and Sisson will start to explain, and eventually, Blaine will enter in. But Sisson will explain that um, for a long time, the bog, Shanton Bog, was primarily occupied or inhabited by hobgoblins and Esuroth. And for a long time, those two groups did not have any love for each other. But there were turf wars that were happening, and there was just a lot of animosity and prejudice between the two groups. Um, More recently, though, some members of both the Esuroth and Hobgoblins have become concerned that they face a bigger problem than each other, and that is Skilletan and plans that they see on the part of Skilletan to expand uh, the their control over this area. Skilletan is ruled by Duke Artus Malakon. Okay, Duke Artus Malakon, who seems to be power hungry. I mean, he enjoys ruling Skilletan, but he doesn't seem to be content with just ruling Skilletan. Um, and when Sisson mentions the Duke, you can see Blaine, who's been kind of pleasant, but you can see him kind of grit his teeth, and he starts to say, "Well, by necessity, I entered into some agreements with the Duke, but um, I see that I was kind of unwise in that decision." Um, Although he says, Blaine says, "Well, my association with the Duke is this: um, the Duke realized that Bardston was, had the bog on its east side with potentially hostile forces there, and the forest surrounding Bardston. It's in a kind of valley, a kind of cleared valley next to uh, the fork of a river, but the forests that aren't too far away oftentimes have, various groups that kind of come out of the forest and have attacked the town. And the Duke offered to lend some assistance in keeping encroachers at bay. And so that there are some kind of military types, mercenaries sent over from Skilletan to help protect um, Bardston. But the Duke did this for a price. I mean, he was kind of charging us. There was some agreement, and well, then on top of that, Blaine um, fell in love with one of the Duke's daughters, and he tried to keep that relationship under wraps, but the Duke found out about it and now is kind of using that as a leverage point to call in his debts. And Blaine kind of gestures around his dining room and says, "But you see my house. I'm well. I don't have the resources that you would expect of a viscount, um, and this brings up the opportunity that I would propose to you." He says that the um, the family manor. This is not the family manor where we currently are. The family manor is um, located about 10 miles off to the west. Um, I'm from a Blaine says I'm from uh, a family with very deep and long roots in this area, and um, from the time I was a little lad, I was told that my family at one time was um, rich, fortunate, that they actually had the resources that you would expect of some type of nobility in Dolphinia. But there's some tragic event that happened. One of my ancestors um, experienced um, a horrible, uh, tragic event when one of the daughters of the family just kind of apparently lost her mind and went on a rampage in the family manor and killed everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and the manor is still there, and supposedly the family treasure is there in the manor. But um, I was told as a wee lad. I mean, of course, I wondered, like, why don't you just go reclaim the manor? Well, I mean, the story has always been that it's haunted, um, and so through the generations, eventually the our family, I guess, just became, resigned to the fact that they would be just living in this more humble abode in the town, and not many efforts were made eventually to you know reclaim the family manor. Whenever an attempt was made, there was usually um, some bad end that occurred. Blaine says, recently I had to just see for myself, and so I got um, I got a group together to go to the manor, and well, it was a strange experience. We got there, and um, well, it seemed haunted to me. I mean, I there was an episode where our horses that we had kind of uh, tied up outside got free from their the lines that were kind of holding them, and they went running off. And then I went back and once we kind of got some of the horses together, I went back and I saw a strange figure in one of the upper windows of the manor. But I tell you, my the people that I took from Bardston were so spooked that they refused to go back. And everybody in Bardston knows the legends, so I'm kind of at my wit's end. And then Sisson takes over from here, and he says, "But um, I have approached. I've I learned about these problems that Lord Blaine was experiencing, and I suggested that um, maybe I could help him out. Um, some of the Esuroth and Hobgoblins who are more enlightened kind of realized that maybe they need to start working together, and maybe there was an opportunity here in Bardston to get somebody who, if not being an ally, would at least be kind of more friendly to the Esuroth and the Hobgoblins, and would kind of be able to help us present some type of a front against Skilletan and its kind of incursions. So the proposal is this, and Blaine says, "Yeah, I'm on board with this, and I'm willing to help out in whatever way I can. He will offer to provision you in whatever you need. He says, I have horses and some stable at the edge of town, and there's a mule, a pack mule that we can take. I'm willing to go up there with you. Oh, and I should mention that Fabian is still with you as well. So Fabian is there, um, and so it would be the four of you. It would be Blaine, Fabian, and the two of you. Um, I would say that you look at Blaine, and he seems like a nice enough guy. Um, whether he doesn't look like the most athletic guy there is, um, but he's at least willing to go with you and to make another shot of seeing what is there at the family
Yeah.
manor. So and so Blaine, I think Blaine is especially, you can see when he looks at Xe'blek that he's a little curious about Xe'blek, but he turns to Llewyn and says, "So what do you think?"
Well, Llewyn will purposely actually look at Xe'blek and then back to Fabian's to make it appear that he's or to make it known that he is keeping them in the loop. My first question, Viscount, is did you actually see a ghost, or you just saw the figure in the window?
Well, he said, "Here's what I can tell you. We were outside, kind of exploring a little bit the grounds. Something happened to our horses that spooked them, and for some unexplained reason, I don't know if the fellow with me who was kind of tending to the horses didn't tie them up properly, but they got loose. I when we resolved the horse situation, I looked up and I distinctly saw a woman with dark hair in one of the windows. We actually made our way into the manor, but look, I don't want to scare you too much, but um, when I went inside, I went to a. Let me make sure I have this correct here. Yeah, I mean, they actually went to the room where they thought she had appeared, and they saw scrawled on the wall, um, in what seemed to be fresh blood, they saw uh, the sentence, "I shall not rest ere all my kin rest with me." Um, and then he heard one of his men downstairs crying out, and he ran downstairs to see what that was about, and went to the dining room of the manor, and there was a second message on the floor in the dining room that said, "Soon, dear cousin, I come for you." And with that, Blaine he says, I, well, I lost some of my courage, and certainly my men had lost all of their courage by that point, and
No doubt.
we left.
Do you have a cousin, or did you have a cousin? Or would you be a cousin to someone who died around in the manor house?
Well, I'm certainly anybody who was, would have been part of that family. I'm from that family, so um, I haven't worked out exactly the full family trees, but I suppose I probably am uh, a cousin of sorts to whoever in the distant past. The tragedy that befell there, that was like 150 years ago. I mean,
Hmm.
it was the distant past. Um, but I'm currently, due to who my parents were, I'm currently the viscount, and the manor is rightfully mine. I would love to reclaim the manor. I would love to um, find whatever family treasure is there. I'd love to get the Duke off my back. And if Bardston can be on more friendly terms with the Esuroth and hobgoblins of the bog, that's clearly going to benefit us. I don't know if you've heard much about Skilletan. I hear that you're kind of newly arrived here, but it's um I mean
You've
a
heard
lot of
enough to know we do not wish to see more of it.
yeah, it's the Duke is a man of little ethics. Um, he's clearly all about he's about pleasure, he's about um, wealth, and clearly is now interested in increasing his sway over this territory.
Well, I've always been interested in ghost stories since I was a child, and so I'm curious to go to see what's there.
And Blaine will look over at Xe'blek and say, and you?
It will say, "You must be brave or desperate to return there." But I will forge ahead. It seems like a worthy challenge for a warrior.
Okay. Um, oh, and Blaine says, before I forget, Sisson and I have to remember my hobgoblin's name. Um, Grothmin, Sisson and Grothmin. Um, I believe you have something for our guests. and the two of them stand up and go and get a couple small chests, and they say, well, the okay. First of all, Sisson says, let me make clear, it's not like all of the hobgoblins and Esuroth of the bog are um, not like all of them even know about what we are doing here, and there certainly would be some who maybe would not be happy with our attempts to get on more diplomatic terms with Bardston. But those who do know about it and are supportive thought that as a gesture of goodwill, we should offer something to Blaine and those who would be kind of going up to the manor. Um, and so what they do is they open up these chests, and they have a nice broadsword that they give to Fabian. Um, and they give, let's see, Llewyn, the hobgoblin gives you 6 vials with liquids in them, and explains that 3 of those are a special hobgoblin swamp tea. Um, Essentially, this will be a potion, and it will give you acute senses. I'm going to just do it in the kind of technical term. It's the equivalent of getting an acute senses spell cast on you for 15 minutes. So it basically doubles the sensitivity of any of your 5 sensory faculties that you wish. So you could have like extra keen hearing, extra keen sight, extra keen smell. Okay, and then so you have 3 of those, and then 3 of them are this hobgoblin special stout. It's a kind of beer, but it will really fortify you, he says. This stout, and it would be the equivalent of each one of those would be an ease pain spell. It's a kind of healing effect that the special stout will have. And then Xe'blek, finally, you are given this pouch, and it smells. I mean, it smells of like um, decaying uh, vegetation in the swamp. Um, but Sisson opens the pouch, reaches in. You can kind of see it looks like a bunch of mud in there, but he kind of grabs out of it um, a looks like a vine or a viney rope, um, and when he pulls it out, you will see that when he manipulates things with its hand, that the rope has some type of prehensile quality to it. Like he said, Sisson says, you'll have to kind of practice with this a little bit, but it serves as a rope, but it's also a living plant with its some type of rudimentary intelligence that's kind of connected to the way that you kind of manipulate it with your hand. So he'll even demonstrate that, like, he can fling it out and it will kind of hover there, and then he can like turn his wrist and the rope will kind of twine itself around the edge of a chair, and then he can kind of flick it and the rope will kind of naturally bring the chair to him. Okay.
Yeah.
It's around 15 feet long.
Okay.
Okay. He says you have to keep it in the pouch normally, unless you're using it. I mean, it's plant material. It's living plant material, and if the plant dies, it's a kind of worthless vine at that point.
Yeah. That's like, I like that. He'll take that and look at it and start to
Practice with the.
kind of fiddle with it.
Oh, and he says, and keep it away from that other arm. He looks at your impact and says, it can be damaged by sharp objects as a normal vine can be. So, all right, and Blaine says, well, if you all are on board, I would say that by going with me, I certainly would reward you in whatever way I can on our return, and certainly if we are fortunate enough to find family treasures in the manor, I'm willing to be generous with my bestowal on you for your assistance.
I guess we'll see what the ghosts have to say about that.
Right, and Blaine says if everybody is agreeable, we could set out tomorrow morning. He kind of gives you directions to a stable on the edge of Bardston, and says we can meet up there, and I'll have the stable hand kind of prepare the horses and the pack mule for us to head off.
How far is it away?
It's about 10 miles. And a good part of it is on a road that moves by this river, and so you'll kind of move up there, and then you'll be turning off the road, and the manor is located on the top of a small craggy hill, so it has some ability to kind of tall enough to kind of see the land around the area. The manor also has on one corner has a small stone tower that has been built. So Blaine says, so tomorrow morning, are we agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. And I'll look at Fabian, see if he's willing.
Yeah, I think Fabian is going to be agreeable. He looked, with some of this, looked a little skeptical, like the ghost stuff. He's, not necessarily a believer, but he certainly he looks at his sword. It's a nice broadsword that he has, and certainly, Fabian will say, "Oh, I hope it's true generosity that you offer us for risking our life and limb in this venture." Yeah, so if you all are agreed, Sisson will take you out the back door again. He says, but Blaine has kind of set up accommodations uh, in it's not going to be an inn, but it'll be another pretty nice for Bardston standards, another kind of nice house that is there's a young husband and wife who are there who kind of have some room to put you both of you and Fabian up, and the it unless do you want to do anything during the evening, or we could fast forward it to the morning and.
The only thing that I need to do would be to commission some leather armor and find a cestus that fits for me.
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
Yeah, and Blaine would make clear that if there's anything you need in the way of basic provisions, which would include armor, weapons, he would certainly kind of supply that, and he has even though he's of somewhat limited financial means as an aristocrat, he nonetheless has sway over the people in the town, and has enough to supply any kind of basic needs that you would have. Yeah, so in terms of your supplies, if there's anything that's basic that you think a good sized town would uh, be able to provide, you're uh, welcome to provide that on your supplies.
I guess really just any reagents for my spells. Although it doesn't really say a lot about that, so I'm guessing probably not much.
Hmm.
And the armor and the weapon, and I guess maybe a basic like sack or backpack.
Okay.
Mm.
Blaine on the pack mule would say, I mean, I'll have some rope, uh, a crowbar, you know, um, spikes. He'll have some very basic um, supplies like that. Lanterns. He certainly would have lanterns and those types of things.
Yeah, I definitely need a lantern. No, yeah, I do. That's it. I think, right? Yeah.
Okay. And anything else before the next morning that you?
Um,
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll, I mean, the only supplies I kind of want are some make sure that we have some light source,
Hmm.
and then also I've made I wanted to get a sling. Which is about the like I don't think I can really. I think that's the type of missile weapon I would use.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I'll
mean,
get a
that
sling
would be
and
easy enough. You can get a sling and some bullets for your
yeah.
sling. Do you have that as is that a combat ability that you've?
I decided to put points in it for this time.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a common weapon skill, so
Uh-huh.
I'm able to do that. I'm trying to figure out my 2-hit bonus though. Wait, it starts at 40. Okay.
Yeah. And for missile weapons, depending on the distance, then there are obviously some modifiers that come into play with
Right.
that. Yeah, those are on.
Mm.
I need to find the chart for. Yeah, it's on
It
page 138 that it has.
yes.
Yeah, so at short range, you actually get plus 10.
10.
Medium is 0, and then long range it goes to -20.
It's not bad. So that's pretty useful. Okay. And my conception of Xe'blek is like he doesn't, like he doesn't go into battle with too much stuff,
Hmm.
or he doesn't kind of go into encounter. I think that's part of the Chitons. Like they're like,
Yeah.
they've got their armor is their own, their weapon is that their main weapon is their own, and they travel light and
Yeah. They're largely self-supplied. Yes. Yeah.
they kind of live off the land
Hmm.
when they're traveling and as an army.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So,
With
should we go to the next morning?
did we want to take Fabian aside in a private moment to discuss anything in particular? Excuse me. Llewyn's of the opinion, honestly, that the Duke is probably behind the bandits and the things in the forest that caused the viscount or the viscount to uh, have to borrow money or borrow mercenaries from the Duke in the first place. As far as that goes, and honestly, I'm either of the opinion that there's another relative. There's someone who knows about what happened, or knows enough about what happened to try and scare Blaine off, or someone from that 150 years ago is still alive today, and trying to keep people away from the manor house. Although honestly, Llewyn thinks it could very well be the Duke of Skilletan as well. Having hired somebody to keep people away. But that's what Llewyn thinks.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask Fabian, I think, as you're kind of unraveling this, I think Fabian nods, especially when, you mention that the Duke is perhaps, um, I mean, meddling in things and is kind of manipulating the situation. Fabian has heard about Skilletan as well, and he says, um, all of the news that I hear about Skilletan is, for some, it's an exciting and lucrative place to be, but it comes with some prices that have to be paid, and that there's it's seems like a pretty corrupt place and has to be run by a corrupt duke, right? And the idea that he would be kind of expanding his domain. I mean, it seems like Blaine is maybe easy pickings for him.
He does seem a bit naive.
Um, Fabian turns to Xe'blek and says, um, "Do your kind put much stock in stories of ghosts?"
We feel very strongly that the past is still with us in many ways. Our own memories reach back to times before we were alive, and so why shouldn't other spirits from that have supposed to have passed not be here as well?
Yeah, I mean, Fabian says, I've heard lots of tales of ghosts in my travels. For the most part, they always seem to just be stories, though.
Yes, I have yet to. Likewise, I have yet to see one myself, but I feel that um, if there's any place spirits might exist, it would be in Dolphinia.
Yeah, well, and the proximity of this bog. I mean, the bog is quite large. I mean, it's a large swamp, and um, you know, Fabian says, no telling what kinds of things can come dredged up from that kind of territory.
Well, we should probably um, take Sisson and the Hobgoblin with us as guides, or a Esuroth and a Hobgoblin as guides. Even though Blaine knows how to get there. Having representatives from those two groups might might make our passing easier, even though it's only 10 miles. It's not that far away. So I don't know if it's worth that or not, but
Do you wanna ask Blaine about having Sisson and uh, the Hobgoblin accompany you to the?
yeah, at least as far as to the edge of the manor, and then maybe um, return in a day or so to check on us.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you ask Blaine, he'd be willing to do that, and I think Sisson and Grothman wouldn't have any. Um, I don't see they would have any major objection to kind of walking off that direction.
Cool.
Okay. So do you want to? Should we move it to the morning and?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
Yeah, that should work okay for me.
Okay. So,
yeah.
the next morning, you get up, you make your way to the stable. When you get there, Sisson and Grothman, the Esuroth and Hobgoblin are there. There's a couple stable hands that have horses for one for everybody. They have a sturdy pat mule that has some things loaded up on it. Um, Blaine is not there, and Sisson and Grothman kind of are grumbling about this. They're giving the stable hands a hard time. Eventually, you know, Sisson orders one of the stable hands to go to Lord Blaine, Viscount, uh, Blaine, and find him. And the there's some more waiting. Eventually, Blaine is there. He's very groggy. He's clearly just gotten up. He's um, um, his hair is unkempt and clearly has just kind of rolled out of bed and says, "Oh, many apologies. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but see, everything is ready to go." And he makes his way over to his horse and kind of leads you down the road, probably after roughly an hour or so delay, right, of kind of getting him together. Um, Let me have one of you roll, just in terms of what you might run into down the road. Let me have you roll a couple six-sided die. If one of you will roll two six-sided dice, tell me what you
I'm going to add them.
No, just tell me what the individual numbers are.
A 1 and a 2.
Okay. All right. So now roll me a 4-sided die.
2.
What did you get?
2.
A 2. All right. So I mean, it's roughly going to be 8 or so miles down the road, and then there's a turn off that you will come to. To find this. All right. We're going to need to get the combat rules right now and look at. It may not result in combat, but we'll see what happens. All right, so we're going to roll for surprise. And the way this works is I would say that this road that you go that you're going down, it's by a river. It's clearly a kind of old path, and it's kind of elevated a little bit. It's kind of been built up a bit on the side of this river that it follows. The surprise rules are that I'm going to roll percentile die, and um, uh, you're going to roll percentile die. So if one of you will roll percentile.
We'll go ahead and do that. 38.
All right. And I rolled a 78. This is one of the few cases in fifth cycle in which a low percentile roll is bad. So if one side rolls half or less of the other's roll, the lower rolling party is surprised. And you said a 38, so and I had a 78, so you would be surprised, right? 38, that'd be 76.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're barely, but you are
Nice.
surprised. Control is modified by the strategy skill of the group's leader. Do any of you have a strategy skill?
I don't think so.
Let me see if I can find Blaine's sheet here. Okay, so it is going to be a surprise. So, give me maybe should have done this before, but give me your general what you imagine the marching order to be. You could ride two abreast if you want to, or you can ride single file.
I would be riding in the lead.
Yeah, I don't imagine that Blaine would be riding in the lead. Llewyn, where would you be?
Probably where I could keep an eye on Blaine, honestly, because I don't want him running into the swamp the first time he gets a little bit scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you want to be behind him?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So why don't we have Xe'blek and Fabian up front, and then we'll have Blaine and Llewyn would be behind Blaine. Oh, and we also have Sisson. Um, um, have maybe Sisson and the Hobgoblin. Do you have them at the rear?
Sure.
All right. And I'm gonna randomize where exactly this. Um, okay. Um, you will hear um, um, uh, Sisson and Grothmin yelling, and there are two large black crocodiles that you're by the river, and so they were clearly in some of that kind of undergrowth, kind of grass, reed, vegetation that is by the river, and they are going to um, make an attack on Sisson and Grothman. One attacking each one of them, um, or their horses. I would say we'll have to see. Probably like the crocodiles is going to be more the horses that are going to get the brunt of this initial attack. That's extraordinary that I rolled a 48 followed by a 48 on the percentile die. What are the odds? The odds of that? Um, and the horses, um, which are also going to be part of the surprise. Um, I think that this is gonna hit them. Um, and go on, and they have a bite they will be inflicting. So I got to roll both the damage, and then I also have to roll the hit location as well,
Yeah.
on uh, the horses. Um, so let me to get that hit location. All right, so Sisson, you see the crocodile kind of has, lunged at the kind of belly area of the of the horse that Sisson is on, and um, it has to kind of lunge up. So it scores a hit, but it's not a particularly effective bite. Perhaps because the more logical place for a crocodile to go after would be the legs, which are kind of down closer to where it is. Um, now, unfortunately, Grothman's crocodile uh, gets a very good bite in
Hmm.
for its damage, and it's on a leg of the horse. that Grothmin is writing, and you can tell, you maybe even hear a kind of crack of bone, um, that his horse sustains, and Sisson's horse, even though it didn't get hit particularly well, it is I surprised, and you know how horses are typically, right? When they get surprised, and also now on top of this is kind of scraped by the teeth. It's going to be perhaps a little hard for Sisson to kind of maintain control of it. So that'll be the surprise part of this. We could do. Should we move to owlbear rodeo and
Yeah.
Sure.
do
That'll
some?
probably, that'll probably, yeah, agreed.
All right. So I'm gonna try to do this on my other computer here. I actually had set this up on the one, but it'll be easier for me to have owlbear rodeo and start this up. I will be sure this time not to put a password in. Say, do not use password. Um, and so I'll put um, the link to the chat, and I need to bring this up with hex on it, and so now, okay.
Cool.
So are you all in on the?
Not yet. Sorry.
Yes, I'm all in.
Here we go. Yep.
And so the two that I dropped in, those are going to be the crocodiles, and drop in. This will be, and if you want to go on and drop in your Sisson is on this side, and this other one is Grothmin, the hobgoblin. And I'll put Fabian is up here. And so we have Blaine. Oh, and I guess I need Blaine. Blaine in. Um, and we'll have to see how this plays out, because I think there are a number of things you could do here. I mean, we're going to move to the I think the rules aren't really all that helpful in some ways with dealing with surprise. It just makes sense to me that they get kind of this one round of attack for free before you all
Yeah.
can get your orientation to you. And so now we go into the initiative phase of the next round. And so it is curious because a lot of times initiative doesn't really play a big role because the combat tactics is more important. But if one of you will roll a d10 for the initiative just in case.
Do that. 5.
Okay. I rolled a 5. What happens if we tie?
Well, it's modified by combat tactics. We don't. Well, never mind, we don't have anybody with combat tactics, do we?
Or by strategy, by the strategy
Oh, sorry,
skill.
by strategy. Yeah,
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah, we don't have a strategy skill. I think maybe we should just roll again, just in case we need to know.
10.
You rolled a 10 and I rolled a 9. Okay. Okay, so we don't need to worry about the Glinna attack phase. So we are now to the magic phase. Is anybody thinking of a spell?
I don't really have. I mean, I don't have any combat spells yet. I've blended Earth and Nightwalk. I think that's all I have. Blended Earth and Nightwalk. Let me double check that. Yep, that's it. So, no, I don't have any magic.
Mhm.
Would taking one of the, I don't think it'll help me, but would taking one of the vials be considered magic, or?
I don't think I would. I think the magic phase, it's more about like preparing spells and spell resolution, right? So I think I would probably, like, if you were doing a vial, I think I would probably just do that as part of the melee, just an action, because it's more physical, manipulation. Okay, so then we would be on to the missile phase.
Yeah, I'll use my sling to sling one of these crocodiles.
Okay.
And I think I'm so I'll kind of turn on my saddle, I guess, but I think I should be able to do it.
Are you going to try to go for, it probably makes more sense, the one that was on Sisson,
Yes, yeah.
because he's on your side?
Yeah. And he's in short range, so I get a +10. That so I'm at a total of 60 to hit. I get a 55, so I succeed with the hit.
Okay. And so you have to roll both the damage and the location.
What do I roll for location?
Roll a
A D10, I think.
yeah, D10.
Okay. So location 5, damage 4.
Let's see, also with the crocodile. Oh, and what did you roll for the percentile?
55.
And what did you need to get?
Oh, I needed a 60.
Because the crocodile does have a defensive bonus of -10.
Oh, so I missed.
And then let me think about this, because this is where it says a -10.
-10 means I get to add to my score.
Correct. So it is a hit, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
5 or 4.
And what was your damage?
4 damage.
Okay. There's so much to take care of here because they do have a tough hide. So right, your bullet from the sling manages to kind of catch it, um, uh, towards its. Imagine it's kind of like facing kind of perpendicular to you, and you manage to kind of get it near that back leg, and it kind of hits the leg and goes glancing off, but it does seem to have caused some damage to it, right? You kind of get a grunt out of the crocodile. Um, any other missiles that are going to go off?
No, I realize that, or Llewyn realizes that he's woefully unprepared for encounters like this.
Okay. So let's go then to the melee phase. What are your combat tactic numbers?
I think mine's just still 2. 2, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have combat tactics yet. So.
Okay. And let me just find his Blaine. And this loft. All right, so all right, so here's what's going to happen. The horse that Grothmin, the hobgoblin, is on is going to fall over, and Grothman is going to need. I mean, he's jostled enough that he's going to have to take a little bit to kind of get back to his feet. Sisson is, I mean, the horse is already bolting, and Sisson is going to try to. I'm going to make an agility check for him. Sisson is having a tough time kind of maintaining the horse and even staying on the horse, which is kind of bolting a little bit and heading forward. So he's kind of occupied to kind of get control of that. The crocodiles are going to go next, and I'll let you know what clearly is their intention. The 2 crocodiles are going to. I mean, one of them basically already has the horse down, and he's going to proceed to drag the horse towards the river, and his buddy is going to join him. I mean, that they are looking for a easy lunch. Okay. So Xe'blek, what do you want to do, seeing this?
I think I would let them get their lunch. I think that this is
Okay.
I don't want to get my horse in trouble.
Yeah, and Llewyn, how about you? Are you
My other question is Grothmin going to be able to get out from his horse while it's being chewed on, or is the gator going to attack him?
Yeah, I think Grothman is. I mean, he's a burly fellow, and he was able to kind of get himself righted up, and he's not the easy pickings here are the horse, right?
Right.
Uh, and I think the crocodiles are hungry, and uh, they don't necessarily behave in the most heroic fashion. But it seems like nature's course would be to like a horse is sizable, right? I mean that's a pretty good lunch for two crocodiles.
True. 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 Then yeah, I mean, if we're just going to let it, if there are no supplies that we need on the horse, then just let them have their lunch.
Yeah, and the horse wouldn't be. I mean, it would have a few supplies, but the bulk of the supplies are on the pack mule. I would say that one of the things that Blaine did was he kind of like was he wasn't interested in the fight. He was interested in kind of leading the pack mule away from this on his horse and taking himself to safety. Um,
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get some combat spells. It's next on my list.
All right, so you all can kind of get yourself back together. Grothman is cursing, right? His you know uh, unlucky fate, and is like I can't believe we they caught we need to be more on our guard, right? I mean I mean the road looks nice, but these are kind of wild territories here, and uh, he says we we should not have been taken like that by uh, two crocodiles. Um, uh, but Blaine is happy. I mean, he says, that was unexpected, but thankfully, um, you know, we only lost one of my horses, so um, you know, unfortunate, but it could have been obviously could have been worse.
Like, but now that I've seen those creatures, I'll be better able to spot them. I'll try to placate Grothman.
Yeah. Um, all right. So, you all can work your way. I guess Grothman has to be hoofing it on his own 2 feet, but he's a sturdy fellow. And I think Grothman. There's part of Grothman too that he seems more secure on his own 2 feet. You know, he seemed probably a little out of his element riding on the horse. So, he's not too put out by that. I think he feels more at the ready. You see him also kind of holding his sword in one hand now, kind of ready to tackle anything else that might be kind of jumping in the way. All right, so you work your way up the road. It does start to rain. A little drizzle starts up. You are near a swamp. You kind of have to imagine that some rainfall is uh, common in this area. Um, the going is perhaps a little bit more slow with Grothman on his own 2 feet, but not too bad. And towards the afternoon, there's a little turnoff, and you can see that at the turnoff there's a smaller kind of path that heads off, and it's kind of that path kind of rises up, um, and that's going to be the Blaine says, ah, here it is, right, the the road up to the manor, and you all kind of head up that direction. and probably about, Blaine knows, and he's been here recently, so he says, we're getting close. And at that point, Grothman and Sisson say, okay, we're basically here. So they're gonna turn back at this point, and they say, how many, I think what they say is, if we don't hear back from you the day after tomorrow, we'll head out and you know come back to see what's transpiring at the manor.
Fair enough.
Safe travels back.
Um, and I'm going to go on and drop a map to um, share. So I dropped in a map. Um, the Blaine would be able to kind of tell you a little bit about the basic layout, so I don't think that the just showing you the map gives
Yeah.
too much away. Um, if you see number 19, um, that's the stables,
Okay.
and when you approach the manor, it's a nice two-story building. It clearly is a building that has not been lived in for quite some time, though. I mean, but it's made out of, uh, for the most part, sturdy timber. Um, and as I say, there is a stone tower in one corner of it. And Blaine suggests making the way around the side towards the back and putting the horses and the mule in the stable, particularly with the rain coming down. I mean, the drizzle has started to turn into a kind of light rain at this point, and the sun is it's getting near dusk at this point. Um,
Yeah.
And so, uh, if you are amenable, right, Blaine would kind of lead you over to the stable. Um, it's a nice size, certainly plenty large for uh, your horses. It does have an old carriage uh, on the set. So you have the stalls, which you can kind of see from the map in the south part of it. There is uh, an old carriage in the middle of the north end that obviously has not been used in some time. It's gathering dust. And that there is a ladder going up to a loft above the stalls.
Okay.
And then you can see from the map that there's to the east of the stables there is this out outdoor garden courtyard area. There are these double doors going off to uh, the north, and then you have further north. Then is the right north of that little courtyard area. You have the manor itself. So you all, I guess dismount your horses. Blaine would say, okay, let's wipe them down, kind of get them cozy in a stall. So he's kind of tending to that, and I guess Fabian would help Blaine kind of deal with the horses. Xe'blek, what do you want to do while they're getting put up?
I wanted to make, I would take a. I think he would want to make sure that there's no that the stables itself is sort of secure. So kind of probably go up in the loft and just check around and make sure there's nothing else is like no surprises here in the stables.
Okay.
I think he's starting to get into sort of soldier mode, and so he'd be looking around just the immediate area for now.
Okay, so Xe'blek has looked around a little bit, is now kind of making his way over to the ladder and perhaps heading up to check up in the loft. Llewyn, what are you gonna be doing while that happens?
It's still light out, correct?
There's a little bit of light, but it's starting to rain, so it's a kind of gray sky. But you probably have another um, maybe less than an hour of of light before the sun really starts to set.
Then what Lewin will do is he will um, step out into the area. I guess since we're at 19 for the stables, right?
Correct.
Right. He'll step out and he won't go to Area 23 or into Area 20, but he will check out the trees, just sort of look around that immediate area.
Okay. And are you staying in that kind of doorway area as you look out?
Yes.
Okay. So, the courtyard area is obviously somewhat overgrown. Hasn't been kind of tended. There are some trees out there. You can see uh, there is a path leading to a fountain. There's that little kind of circular area uh, in there. There looks like uh, building 22, which is kind of directly across, seems like it might be some type of little chapel. Um, and let me see what. And building 20 has the signs of being like some type of perhaps mausoleum that is there. You have a little structure off in the corner, which kind of looks more like a shed, right? I mean, your guess would be that that's just like maybe a shed for gardening supplies and stuff like that, and you have that little possibly chapel and a little mausoleum there. And Xe'blek, you're climbing up the ladder, and I think what I'm gonna go on and let you roll this. Give me a percentile dice roll, and I would say you don't really want to roll low on this one because you're actually rolling for some creatures that are up there. It's not surprise, but a kind of
76. There we go.
76. All right, so um, and I think we'll end with this because this is going to be another combat situation. But you poke your head up there, and as soon as you poke your head up, you see scuttling across the floor towards you two very large spiders, and they're like um, um, I don't know, Doberman Pinscher size
Oh, wow.
spiders that
Yeah.
are kind of scuttling across the floor, and we maybe have some other creatures that think that dinner has appeared for them.
No.
Um,
They're mistaken.
but But why don't we end it? Because I think that getting into this potentially would take us, you know, because I don't know that you would want to just leave the stables, and I don't know that the spiders might be happy because they might have a lot of horses to eat, but you may not want to be giving up all your horses at this point. And
No.
you're up on the ladder too, so you need to kind of decide like what exactly your tactic will be at this point. Okay.
Sounds good.
But yeah, we'll end it there, and then 2 weeks we can immediately kind of take up with
Jump into that.
the combat situation with the
Yeah,
spiders.
okay.